What if you are? What if what you're seeking is what you already are? Then all that striving is not only unnecessary, it's actually counterproductive. I'm reminded of a story about a Zen master who was asked by his disciple, "How long will it take me to reach enlightenment if I practice very hard?" The master replied, 10 years. The disciple then asked, "And if I practice twice as hard?" The master said, 20 years. "And if I practice day and night with all my might?" asked the confused disciple. 30 years, replied the master. Do you see the point? The harder you try, the further away it gets, because the very trying implies that it's not already here. This doesn't mean, by the way, that we should all just become lazy and stop doing anything. That would be falling into the opposite error. What it means is that we need to understand the nature of effort differently, not as a means to get somewhere, but as an expression of where we already are. Think of it like dancing. When you dance, you're not trying to get anywhere. You're not improving yourself. You're simply expressing the joy of being alive in this moment. That's what spiritual practice really is. Not a ladder to climb to some future heaven, but a dance that celebrates the heaven that's already here. Let's explore another fascinating dimension of this illusion, our concept of time. You see, the whole idea that we need to seek, to progress, to evolve spiritually, is based on a certain view of time. A view that sees time as a line stretching from past to future, with the present as just a fleeting moment between them. And in this view, we're always on our way somewhere. We're never quite there. We're perpetually in transit, always becoming, never being. One day, we tell ourselves, one day I'll arrive, one day I'll be enlightened, fulfilled, complete. But that day never comes, does it? Because it's always in the future, and the future never arrives. It's rather like trying to catch up with the horizon. The faster you move toward it, the faster it recedes from you. This is what I call the trap of time. And it's perhaps the most subtle and pervasive illusion of all. Because we don't see it as an illusion, we see it as reality itself. But what if time, as we normally conceive it, is itself an illusion? What if, as the mystics have always insisted, there is only the eternal now? What if past and future are just mental constructs, useful for practical purposes, but ultimately not real? You see, we think of ourselves as beings in time, moving from past to future. But what if we're actually beings of time? 0. 5. What if consciousness itself is what creates the experience of time? Consider this. You can only ever experience the present moment. You can remember the past, but that remembering happens now. You can anticipate the future, but that anticipation happens now. All experience, all life, all reality can only ever be now. And if that's the case, then the whole idea of spiritual progress, of gradually moving from an unenlightened state to an enlightened one over time, is based on a fundamental misunderstanding. Because if there is only now, then whatever realization or awakening you're seeking can only happen now. Not after years of practice, not after reading all the books, not after finding the perfect teacher, but now. Either now or never. And this is precisely what the great spiritual traditions have always pointed to. When Jesus said, "The kingdom of heaven is at hand," he didn't mean it's coming soon. He meant it's here, now, within reach. When the Zen masters speak of sudden enlightenment, they're pointing to the fact that awakening can only be sudden because it can only happen now. Now, let's consider what we mean by understanding, because there's a world of difference between intellectual knowledge and true understanding. And this difference is at the heart of our dilemma. You see, we've become a civilization obsessed with information, with facts, with knowledge. We accumulate books, we attend lectures, we gather certificates and degrees. We think that if we just learn enough, read enough, study enough, we'll finally understand. But understanding, real understanding, isn't a matter of accumulation at all.
You were like that dream, I suppose. Not to know what is funny to piece the place of this person and what to happen. We're too flying up to the night by the soar high, the music in your mind for the reaching the stars. Eyes glazed, floating in the words of distant echoes and inebriated for the stumbling through the drunk. The pits intoxicated for the red eyes that I haven't wasted enough too much of this to find what's too good for the all the ambitions of this to be the comfort zone to fly. Sicker situation for the girl that you can make love with the man for the cross that globe you find the curve go. What's worth for the mystery of the love and the man for the seeds of the moment for the two celebrate the this imperfection for the turners of the memory for the nothing can't compare. Hold the comfort for the lump and the rest of this total tired. Sounds like it apologizing for the existence of this foreign. Beginning to be ugly for the voice that suddenly made me realize it was wanted to ask you for the hours to tickle this line. A dead title. Sweet taste flowing through the way you used to look at me for the taking the idea for the care in some ways but playing the emotions. Check yourself. It could be some consider for the casualty of war. Collateral for the obliteration for the what you find. Dark timber for the obsidian for the feline eyes that seem to be opened up and decided you for one day. The rain of the butterflies that felt the droplet of water hitting the delicate wings of the wind. Built up around me for the bloom in the ear. Here. It wasn't here before for what the dialogue is, and for the wings heavier for the wanting to plunge me into the pivoting towards the earth, or destroying the beauty for the what you can find safe place for the shelter in hand, or land. Her wings do not resemble the tattered place of black ice. It's fine failing and helplessly for the within the wind, or heavy enough to lift anymore for the echo will be the nature, or filling yourself with the calm for this to be the rain, the storm for the once to destroy me, for the taking the colors and the whispering you over the wind let droplets. Single day of the sunshine shine through for this enough to be the date. Dry the wings on for the never to find the land safely. Protect the colors and the live for the fly another day. And I think, add to the hour for the space that I might vanish without a sound. Shadows bend differently around me for the wonder for the if anybody noticing this side of the shadow hollow, the bee loves beating heart. Slip through the smoke of the trying the edges, for the folding of myself carefully for the let yourself disappear to the echo the loudly. Consume everything still within me for the sound of your poem. With a dream, the scene, like a ghost in the rain for the soul show, where you cannot understand for the warning, spoke, not a cruel joke for tailored around the dangling for the beautiful enough that you could be studied. Ritual, with it holding perfectly given your matters and adorning yourself forever. Intrusive midnight thoughts that this would be the scenarios over the head. Just me for the head for the prayer. See the soul still finds this she is empty hours. Mouth is a lost fracture, rearrange themselves into the process and what you seek. This is more like how the more you linearly for the more than you like a spiral. Circling the same wound until the edges blur, until the cut feels like home but the grief doesn't stir. Just sit politely in the chest of the leaking into the grammar. Edits in every citizen and turning into it was this before I could catch myself. You were not erased, but you were multiplied. Shadows and echoes of the undivided repetitions of their own bodies from remembering yours. Homesick and a stranger in a symphony. You start to cue the rise to get a pitch that's coming to the view. To insert the drums to the pumping steadily and matching your breath. Breathing heavily for the syllables crash into the eyes meet. Nerves of the symphony for the strings between the strangers of the symphony has to start. Start their cue. Low to steady rising in harmony in you with the rhythmic drums of the heavy pumping that matching your heartbeat. Rapidly thumping the simple crash again to give yourself a smile. The symphony for the strings that carry down the sun. The drums become steps in direction for the cymbals, twinkling for the delicate. Making your way to this lady and melody for the without the symphony for the singing, swinging strings, merrily in the horns, ever in the perpetual layers of the symphony that bring together the strangers. Missing half. She wasn't ever actual anymore that had the dream. Halfway home from where's that act yourself with stolen breath and the pain with the betrayal that didn't think that you would ask for what created for the silence of the struggle. For humiliated baby stream, we all come up buried like a scream. Who hold me now? exposed and cold in your eyes. Your own warm arms comforting for us. Someone loyal who stays. The inside hides this lantern by veils. This mist of the gathers in the ditches. Ferns are too quiet. Gold feet for the pines, and this all was kept. Half unspoken for the gold. Run this find worth ride this hum to feel muted and change. It does not yet trust me, but its full name, but I think is how often. Their own life looks like this intention veiled. Along half seen and edges blunted until they always forgot the shade for the beneath the gray. Blooms, unseen, still open for the brief span. Blue prayers whispered that cannot hear. Seems to rise and unchained from the cranberry gleam for the bluebirds and promise that this fern to burn bright. The same unfurling of the blistering red for the pines to remain steady for the dark gardens, and even though you toward the change, the shadow no longer for the outnumbered by the flame. And feeling the truth of this often or change and re-arrive, and doesn't find a path place it wrapped in the haze and deliberate for the sudden light. Sunlight that nothing can be hidden for the dissipated on the scare. The stars, this purple fizzling over the stubborn crown. The sky blue for the day, both fleeting and enough for their own final rule. This teaches me the heart. Resist this mystery, and rather than after the change will come, but it will come with the mystery, the part of it really revealing itself.
Urgency strike without warning in a sudden rush. The fear and the dread, the moments of the chaos of the heat. We must act swiftly and steady. Instincts feed fed. This world turned upside down, it seems to stand still in the face of danger. We must summon all the will for the hearts pounding and the minds racing and to seek out ways to cope. Beacon of hope. In the darkness of the times we must find the scope this from. Here is the rush to force. The rush to forward for the risking of the lives to save others and the bravery we can ignore. For the aftermath of disaster, we can't find the strength and the unity for the facing of the adversity, for the rising of resilience to the dignity, for the revealing of the night for the darkness of moments in the shining bright light. It was gaining wisdom for the learning of the never-ending journey, for the path of wisdom for the never tired. Open up your minds and hearts to set the spirits on fire. With every book you read and every lesson you heed in this understanding and the growth. Knowledge that exceeds the stumble and fall, but always get back for the learning process. Never give up with the key to unlocking your secrets of the universe and never ending your quest. It only gets better with the age, so let us embrace the joy of learning. For with each new lesson to become more discerning, let us never stop seeking. Knowledge is the guide for through the learning and growing will always be abiding. And down by the banks of sea for the waters to edge could be for the some plastic population to plus me. The road please the cameo for the camouflage the camping with the Campbell soup with this painted by the hoop with say the owls at the barn for the hoopers and you find the noodles of the monkeys and the apes. Or for the yes of the summer, the blur for the spins of wisdom, for the pools and worlds, this is like the girls and boys, this is a girl to find oyster for the clam, but never the rarely found a pearl, this somewhere in the house of popular cities, it is sharp and never you're really hidden ditty. And this is the where the lies feel good to ink, or was it the ink for the think this assignment the truth, but the proof is that it didn't don't, this reality for the will and won't. Sealed lips and all the crews and not to find a loose one. Definitely not too, for the still is strong. The black and no longer for the authority for the deeds of their own wrong, righted for the wars just been fought for the armies in the battle for those who been fight. Some now lay dead, melancholy for the infinite, for the dreading over the red and round origin for the truth, or just omitted for the truth that just become the truth never said, for the somewhere in the tool, the buried in some unknown metal piece of the non-descriptive food for the unknown piece decided to head for the article inside. 10 colors in the header for the radioactive, for the once who called to finally erase the small square for the multi-million-dollar masterpiece to draw the crooked smile face. Truly, without thinking to wipe it off and erase it, this is quite apparent. The gifts were not to be found. The space is space for the matter, for the time, for the beauty, the sparkle, the shine, for the side of the bowl, for the moment, for the describing of the different, for the definite, for the blow, for the mixture, for the colors. The amazing and unknown scattered with the ashes in them. Throwing away for the shame of them, for this to never learn. To burn, for the not the shame, for this to getting known, for the stolen gift. What you cannot fathom, but along the ripples of the edge, and never to know to be at the forward time, for the unknown, only heard. Are you happier than not for this address of this bottom, for the ultimate, for the discernible, for the flavor of the table, for your next dish? This what do I do for this to be the question, for the between the silence and the fire, for the where the heart whispered, for the thing no tongue, no can shape. Shadows lean close, the soul burns brighter, for the body can endure it only. Carry the storms inside of you, for the kind of break the trees, and this kind of breaks people too, for the quietly, for the time. Still your eyes of a scar, the scripture for the tear, the song unsung, the survival for the prophecy, for the morning will find you again, for there for the final warrior, you fight the wound for the too quiet, for the blood that you shed anyways, at the savannah noticing of the heaven, the scene for the hell of fear. The steps to shake the ground for the more, for the for the broken steel glass cuts, this both rain to resurrection for the wound to rub it. Space between the silence and the fire, and then you were eternal. The days go by, wishes to be seen, but number strangers break you past, and the hollow words that don't be seen and reach me anymore. For the I love you, when you said you walk away, for the hollow words and I love you. Ooh, this would be the arm, the whisper for the stone cry, greater for this to be between the walls. What was lost to the hush, the roots, the spin, slowly at first for the learning and language, a curve for the love of the moment, metal for the ear, for the mirror, the clouds, just forget the names, this and it's a glass, this is wilderness and this wild. And wide and shallowing of the shadows, and this is wearing it down the ears of the pain. Tongue or patient of the water for the curving of the hymns, and into the bones of the earth for this to be the twist of the breast, this thoughts, this wandering of the past of the willows of the reading of the holding secrets and the murmur for the releasing of the listening to hear of the child.
Suppose you're God. Suppose you have all time, all eternity, and all power at your disposal. You were given the power to dream any dream you wanted to dream every night. What would you do? You could dream any span of time. You could dream 75 years of time in one night, 100 years of time in one night, 1,000 years of time in one night. And it could be anything you want. You make up your mind before you went to sleep, tonight I'm going to dream of so-and-so. Well, naturally, you would start out by fulfilling all your wishes. You would have all the pleasures you could imagine, the most marvelous meals, the most entrancing love affairs, the most romantic journeys. You could listen to music such as no mortal has heard and see landscapes beyond our wildest dreams. And for several nights, or maybe for a whole month of nights, you would go on that way, having a wonderful time. But then after a while, you'd begin to think, well, I've seen quite a bit. Let's spice it up. Let's have a little adventure. And therefore, you would dream of yourself being threatened by all sorts of dangers. You would rescue princesses from dragons. You would perhaps engage in notable battles. You would be a hero. And then, as time went on, you would dare yourself to do more and more outrageous things. And at some point in the game, you would say, tonight I am going to dream in such a way that I don't know that I'm dreaming, so that you would take the experience of the dream for complete reality. And what a shock when you woke up. And you really scare yourself. And then, on successive nights, you might dare yourself to experience the most extraordinary things just for the contrast when you woke up. You could, for example, dream yourself in situations of extreme poverty, disease, agony. You could, as it were, work on the vibration of suffering to its most intense point, and then suddenly, whoop, wake up and find it was after all nothing but a dream and everything perfectly okay. And you would say, wow, man, that was a gas. Well, how do you know that that's not what you're doing already? You, sitting there with all your problems, with all your whole complicated life situation, listening to me, it may just be the very dream you decided to get into. If you like it, crazy. If you don't like it, what fun it'll be when you wake up. Suppose you're gone.
You see what I mean? You got to be crazy. Don't let it be things. You got to go full tilt, full blue. You're only given a little spark of that. If you lose that, you're nothing. Don't. From me to you. Don't ever lose that, because it keeps you alive. That's my only love.
And with the prophets, what I know is that there's a such thing called a prophetic penalty. You will live out your disobedience. It's not like that with other gifts unless it's a teacher. Woe to those of you that want to be teachers, you'll be whipped with many stripes. What a lot of prophets who don't respond right go through, they live out prophetic penalty, and it feels like attack.
What is the value of silence?
So there's two major things I say to families. One is, you have a decision to make.
A lot of times people think that you accept what they're putting out because you've been accepting certain things along the way. I call it the breadcrumb effect. If some bread comes down, you eat it. There's some more down, you move forward, keep going and keep going. They think that you approve of their actions because you seemingly are taking the breadcrumbs, but not realizing that sometimes you know exactly what they're doing and you know exactly how you're going to revive the relationship. You know how you're going to edit that relationship. Sometimes doing things differently, sometimes putting your foot down and saying, I'm not accepting this anymore, and sometimes just walking away completely. And that's where the anger comes in, because you basically lead them along like they led you along. You gave them a false idea of who you are. You made them think that you accept what they were doing. You made them think that you was moving according to their plan. You don't even want it. You make a decision. You say, okay, starting today, we're doing this. I've been seeing what you tried to do, what you attempted. I've been seeing the breadcrumbs all along. And that's when the anger comes out, because they feel like they were being bullshit. But you didn't say nothing. You act like you...
Chaos within the horizon. Loveless nights and I toss and turn, disturbing thoughts whirling around me. Lost in depths of the dreamland, tormented by the loneliness of the world closes on me, leaving me closer to chaos, which is all around me, so I see it so vividly, for it destroys my reality. And the dark has me trapped in the claws of the light has me banned, and I'm sinking the vessel for the plunging to the seafloor. Final pit stop before no more agony for the distressed, no more doormat for the I become me, for the floating soul, for the nomad, for the afterlife, for the definition of freedom. And the lonely lilacs just wandering road with no windows down, the lilac hunter for the soft and slide, for no fence porch or watchful town, for the blossoms and nodding the sky. Stip a stem for the quiet glee, gift for the hands of the vase of smile, they bloom for none and bloom for me. So I keep watch mile after mile, not stealing in the setting free. Fragrant bit of the passerby, for the sunflowers crave a little spree, for the chance to wilt beneath the side. For my postpartum friend, for this to be the distant memory soon, for the one to take body, for the witches to sticky war rounds, wounds, sleepy eyes that lay you down, for the most delicate, for the fabrics that made no silk, maybe linen, too wrinkly, maybe just too bad for soft grass in an open field, for above the cliff somewhere, that you can feel the sun in the heart. You hear the goals or the smell of the air, for just a brief moment, for the remember that there's a whole world out there waiting for your return. There's no man on earth more faithful than God. There's no man on earth that will sit and listen to you the way that God will, for there's no man in the hill with you the way that he'll heal this way to speak this peace to your storm, for that he'll watch you fall 7 times and still prepare for the table like never. There's no man who will never pass your shame, just past your fear for the past of your pride, to hide it just to find a thirst that you never before the love like this. An empty Sunday feeling that held your face in my hand, gazing longingly into your eyes, just to find it when your lips touched awoke the sun, for the setting it through the window, for the covering in the empty bed, for the loneliness of the shade of the amber, and the emptiness of the Sunday evenings, and the loneliness of lilac for the softest slide. No man asks, why do you cry back and forth west? This eyes never settle for the tune, for the pressure for the building and the kettle for the uncomfortable again. Let's just say quiet, right. Beautiful eyes, and you tell me to shut up, and you find a lion again by the iron clad at night, falling for the sword for the nights that pierce me, for the I am already like this and invisible. You will not savor, grasp me of the hope for the wishing to smile, for the all the faith in this exile, this find the rhythm for the just to run away for the you can like it, into the water for the foaming gently, and for you can be the popular one. Blind eyes can't cry, for this everything's burning into death, for this right before our west must be blind eyes, and what about me for the leaving the recognition for the stars that to be forgotten. Between the constellation for the what's still below. And I'm a dandelion for the weeds that over flowers and the messes over the illusion for the perfection for the preferred solitude for the noise that dawns just over the most everything for the preferred knowing and over the knowing and the guessing and over the you can find the best prefer faces of the souls for the pose of the pose for the pretend for the light time for the doesn't for the work. And I need to take a nap for the room relax too much just for the learning about someone for this letting me be for the flower. The dandelion for the onion blossom for the flower who managed to find the shade who was supposed to have a full sun like rose. Smell like the smoke of fire, places a million times, keeping it over the everyone warm, for the great people to keeping your stories alive, for the feeling right by me. And it was a little turtle for the splashing, but you had to let it go for the sharpening. It was too difficult without you, for the be with you, for the ocean, the mountains, and the profile love. And I found a love for the waiting in the dark, your flowers for the eyes, for the rainbow light, for the kisses over your soul, the young deep against the ocean. And my dreams in your mind, for the love, for the beauty, for the hope, for the division. My heart attacks and never remembers you've been or you walk, contradict your actions with the reality for the love that you once born. Don't let me feel this, it won't let me. It won't let me go. The profound suffering and the profound love. In the presence I feel optimistic for the so cold and you are inviting me to lead it to the dark and feeling but this will be the doctrine for the position. A little star for the growing so much that you were smothering, but that you had the brain full of intelligence for the holiday for the past, and without you now you find a mirror to lie. Got no rest, no sleep to keep pushing over the rushing into the future, into the present.
gaze to the brow, for the light the moth songs to draw. Near eyes I snore for the grave, for the crow's feet, for the feast, for the over the end, the scene, for the judging of the dimples in the step of the order, never the mildly slept. And the resurrect for the founding of the how, for the hum, for the just to be the round, for the decades of the read, and never the hold it still, for this to believe, and never the important date for you can have the postcard from this, from spec, this life, no illusion, for the never the chosen that seek and last. And your phases in life. Broken shit without a mind. Tell me what you know with the end for the reason to pretend for the road to lead to the sand for the crushing of the phases in life and stripping the best colors of the dreams. Also, suffering with it, for lost and wanting to scream and shout. This is all about the story sitting under the sun. For the reason that life is speaking of feet, decided to turn into the wall for the sun because of this, not to be down. Walking on earth with the smiles and the laughs and sitting there for the wondering where I am with the smiles and pass the by for mine and I can't describe right now. Feeling it somewhere between frantic and frightened and rage and ignoring. Heading over the impotence in the eyes of which so little for the safe for the death and the inwardly for the life of the wind for the thought for the over the cliff and go over you discussing the view. Walkie talk is this divine. What to say the walkie talk is the weather for the sound of wind to the tree and make it this is to with the side soon. The sources of music once had perhaps the insects, the cries of the animals at night, the insects is divine, the senseless and insane. Perspective for the building and the puzzle for the living for the missing piece of this vacuum for the screen shot, where I scribe the shot, the screen enough to be the crash, but humbling yourself. Sleep the echoes of the silence of the room while the feeling so deep. You quite like love at the first sight, like curiosity and the safety found. Quiet, intrusive thoughts muttered out loud for the under the breath and text to turn into a call for the hanging off and turn into a friendship for the dance for the something lasting for real. Sought the first mirror, the invitation for the you were now yours, and only lips. This am I thinking about for the only things that I lost in my dreams, my thoughts, reminisce. And the kindness that won't.
This will coincidence for the free, and fluttering to the ground for becoming nutrients for the soul, the continuing the underbreathing gospel for the laws of life. Or the cycle in which life moves and we are the will for the coincidence, or only free for the change in the role for the not the rules. Karma is God's oath and life is the God's grip. Peace, just believe that for the perfection for the written and the fine print. This will coincidence for the free, fluttering to the ground for becoming nutrients for the soul, continuing the underbreathing gospel for the laws of life. Or the cycle in which life moves and we are the will for the coincidence. We're only free for the change in the role for the not the rules. Karma is God's oath and life is God's grip. Peace, just believe that for the perfection for the written and divine. Mind in the wind for the left, for the left, for the left, for the dissolution over the what you just see. Sealing over the cliff and over the end of the rope. This is the beginning of your destiny for the world. The ladies and gentlemen, for the brothers and sisters, the warriors of the spider, for the ending of the not just your ears, but your ears. Change and truly change must first devour the darkness and never hide and not fear for the swallowing the whole, for the taste of bitterness and the down the name, for the breaking in the hole, for the shadow for this not good enemy, for it's the proof that you have light. Then the fan for the flame and let it rise and let it burn away for this a small illusion for the powerless and the light is not fragile with this fire. Fear it. Forgiveness and feed it to speak into it, for the let it roar and find the right divinity for the books and not letting the temples and the mirrors and the scars and the silence between the heartbeats. It's such a realizing that you're still standing in the come to choice, come to divine self, the unthinkable for the slayer and your kind of for the becoming, the deciding of the beyond the divinity for the choosing your favor, the forge, the fire, and over the who makes us start thinking wrong. So rise, rather than light the flame for the rise and become what you want and what you can, and this is your beginning and not choose. Out of the what is suffered, the love of the stand for the out of the two broken ranges for the carved in either hand, and you find the chemical, the cuts in for the obsession, for the down and empty, the map, there's nowhere to run. The force of the pain for the replace of the sorrow, the beneath the water and the side is an inch, or the falling in the step as to begin to pursue. an action and take it for the giving, the scope for the lingering, the pain for the searching for the more, for the love, for the life. It's easier than enough for the nothing is true for the pain. So all the searching for this come, all of you for the earnestly, giving the choice in words, you find accept the pain for the change and have to have it for us. By my word, master's occasion, my own integrity, give the change of forward. The strength is define the binding and the radiance in the crystal city for the untitled for the pain, still here for the worst and worse by the day for the beyond the teeth, and you can get it for the chest. Lying underneath for them, you get yourself flat enough to see the real you beyond the teaching. But I am like a grandfather clock for the soldier they fight my way. Succumb to the heart flutters before it flies into the stomach, but it feel in the ground crack beneath you're crumbling into the lava for the former human feet. Words that don't make sense. It was washed in each other's feet. Silence been dwarfing me, and another finger for the tracking of the ridges of the ages that they own, the causes and softened by the water of time. And it was just a gesture for the lover that does not boast. And the bowl overflowed with the stories and said, and there's a hum under the breath for the echoes of the morning when the leaving is one of the hardest to command. And the fanfare for the slowness of the recognition for the spoke between the silence and tasting over the pause, and just the sight I've fruit for once forbidden for the now share freely, for the harvest that comes for the end for the wheat. Coin for the children protected from the war of becoming. Storms within the womb for the moment of the glances change the house of them dim hallway for the east and AM for the combined the cried and the arguments and bled into the devotion for the made the list of fears of the past and then my offerings. But in the reckoning found the encouraging there's allowed the persistent pain, this worn into the muscles like a faith at work. When it parted for the day, I say goodbye, nodded towards the sky for the meet them again for the stars, no gravity for the language that become flicker for the breath of cosmos. And sometimes I wonder if the contemplation yesterday was this sense of moonlit ink, this writing the hush, this air fed thinner for the memory to move. Not to be kill them kindness and not a murderer, for the release the whisper for the turn into the ink before they disappear completely, for the holding the way for the glance and the lingering the too long to be nothing left, nothing will be named for the sin because of the poems that are more than I admitted to. Reaching you, to feel it for the never, the one to change you much, to set it ever, to remember your name for the soft and doing good for what you call the blank space between the lies and hold all regret. And the caring for ever, and never myself say that this is poems, so this had to become the only place that still exists, and this is not enough for the break to hate to this, so always left the art.
This will coincidence for the free, flooding to the ground for becoming nutrients for the soul. Continue in the underwritten gospel for the laws of will. The cycle in which life moves, we are the will for the coincidence. We're only free for the change in the role for the not the rules. Karma is God's oath and life is God's will. Peace, just believe in their perfection for the written and divine will. In the way for the left, for the left, for the left, for the dissolution of the what you just see there. Sitting over the cliff and never the end of the hope for this and becoming your destiny for the ladies and gentlemen, for the brothers and sisters, the warriors, and despite of the lending of it, not just your ears, but your truth. The change and truly change must first devour the darkness and never hide and not fear for the swallowing the whole, for the taste of bitterness and the down the name, for the breaking the whole. For the shadow, for it's not your enemy, for it's the proof that you have light. Then the fan for the flame, for the let it rise and let it burn away. For this, you are a small illusion for the powerless in you. The light is not fragile, it is fire, fury, forgiveness and feed it to speak into it. To let it roar and to find the divinity for the books, not in the temples and the mirrors and the scars. So this is the side of it between the heartbeats. It's such a realizing you're still standing enough to come to.
Every time I wonder, a vision that you reside, give you space to flee, is that's what his fate may be. Go, be free. Mournful songs of forest and harmonies of the elder flow. This is all with the pledge of the river, the daughters of forage, the direction the hidden waterfall. Left alone in a pillar for the to the left and flash. Broken down for the stag and the bull for the damn 55. Draw spare for while yet with the great and loud. Smother the shattered skin. Merged with the own understanding. But your wish to rule will have to conjure. When it ends, it's not for me to stay. For don't you know, I will go.
poetry and the caution, the people that spoken word. In the history and in the making, the bodies that much wash up, I'm sure that's unmarked for you to dig up. When love comes pouring, in the good we love each other with the passion that comes through love with this and anything understanding. In the deepest embrace, and I want to be held in the deepest embrace and get the weight with the waters of the depths of them. Stand still, tomorrow sleeps, this the sun forgets to rise. What if the birds fly through empty skies? What if the clock stands still and no future awaits? Would I embrace my one last thrill and live eternally? And the day seems so blent, all of one blur. I hear flesh of the green costume with appear to be strength that you gave me. Counted cracks in the walls of the shape I rage into fell. Sting of the words that are shattered and softer from you woe. Every time you leave the thing, you feel it hurt a little less. And the lie they used to forgive myself for the self-destruction past. And possess the caution for the yielding to slow down for the be attentive being. Alert for anything for the unexpected relinquishing of the right. Way to another for the technological, for the transient transference. Designed for the compiled and you from the reason, rather with a death wish in the morning and after. Using it to the code. Smile for the seven in the face. Deranged in the mirror. And it was all for the deep with the science and the chaos and whether it's the time you. And it was in all the path that you made. The shape of the clay for the cup and the stone. Whether for the moments and whether the night for the rustle of the trees and swaying slowly. When the moon slowly moves into the place and matching the stars around it. It's shimmering in the reef in the distance. Be the out the releasing of it isn't life. But this is also so low over your abscess. This not. Also the drift of the years and the yearn for the space for the youth and feel all I do. No other face and no distant shore. No man of the heart with the eggs and the soul. Just follow the kind for the life of the silent speak. There's wisdom in the woven in the winds you seek. The world turns slow for arms that sea. But you never trusted me for that, so okay. I saw the way your eyes flinch at love like it was a womb responding, reopening. Humans feel. Ground earth pulls us and one day back into the dirt for the rage. Lost love, substitute the souls, this hurt, and livers and the poisoning for the minds and the belittling. Word. Envy haunting in the heart since birth. This fact, fear dying blissfully, but knowing that I'm still here. Please be the one to leave this, particularly for the out of love, the stability for the giant around the passion, for just to be the sensibility for the not a desire. The world feels too cold and dull. Pack my bags away, you'll see. Hometown sound where the bones break down. Tell me I'm fragile enough for the rumors and word you hide. And when it wasn't born, I kept in bottle and got it and left in the hole. I think of your phone. Fully charged to the phone and it really makes the train to charging. Nothing about more for this to be the nothing for the never the paddle for the one for the Greek storm. Nothing for the nothing that stays just right. Another language and you could be poet. Or lift it over the head and half of the feeling to dance and who knows it too. And in my turn, you can't remind me what name it is. For the love that painted the heaven, for the speaking of heaven, the faith that love me into the assistance for the smile won't. Every time I wonder, the vision that you reside, give you space to flee, yes, that's what it's fate may be. Go, be free. Mournful songs of forest and harmonies of the elder flow. This is all with the pledge of the river, the daughters of forest, the direction the hidden waterfall. For the age, to the left and flesh. Broken down for the stag and the bull for the dam for the defied. Draw spare for while yet with the great and loud. Smother the shattered skin. Merged with the own, understood in you, but your wish to rule had to conjure. When it ends, it's not for me to stay. For none should know.